Hi crafty friend, it's me, Justine Dvorak from Stationery by Justine, where when I craft my world stands still. Today I hope you're here for a watercolor tutorial. This is sped up. Let's get nice and close so you can see how I'm using Tim Holtz watercolor pencils to watercolor this beautiful BetterPress image. Now this image is from Spellbinders. It is from the new BetterPress plates from Simple Stories and Spellbinders. This one is from Friendly Moments. So that set comes with both images you see here. So for on the video here today, I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate my watercoloring techniques of what I do with this bigger image, and then at the end I'll show you a few more cards that I made with this collection. I really like it. There's some dies. There's an alphabet die. There's a whole lot going on. So we'll just show those at the end. And if you have any questions about any of those cards, just let me know in the comments and I would be happy to help. But you're probably here for a watercolor tutorial, so enough of the chitter chatter. As I've been blabbing, you have watched me color the background with some light greens and some darker greens and just really kind of making it look green. And then we're adding blues to the pond. I wanted it to be a little bit brighter and have it be a happy card, you know. The Christopher Robin character there is wearing shorts, so to me it reads a warm day. So I wanted it to be nice and lush and green and have a happy little river or creek. I don't remember from the stories what it is specifically called. But I'm going to take these colors and really darken up some of the spots where the BetterPress has already given me shading lines. And that is one of my favorite parts about these BetterPress plates, is that it kind of does a little bit of the shading and such for you. Now I really like to watercolor, especially with these pencils. It is just very easy to do in my opinion, and it's also really nice for relaxing. And I am generally this year trying to be a less stressed out person, but I am a little bit high strung, and when I watercolor, especially like this, it allows me to have a chance to let go of the control of exactly how things are going to look. With watercolor, it's different than Copic coloring or even coloring with just colored pencils, because when you add the water, you can't always control what's going to happen. So it's kind of a good exercise for me personally, and I find it very relaxing. So I'm coloring onto this paper completely dry. Everything is dry right now. The pencils are dry, the paper's dry. The air in Minnesota here is dry. Everything is dry. And this is important because this is allowing my pencils basically to act like a colored pencil. And if you aren't interested in adding water at the end, this looks good without even adding water. So if you don't want to watercolor, I still recommend these watercolor pencils. I think they're great. Now I'm going to add a little bit of the foreground here and use some browns for the fence. And then we're going to be ready for water. Now, I have been watercoloring for a long time, but I'm still trying to get better at it. Every day a little better. And I have been training myself with a regular watercolor brush. So the pencils here are new to me for about maybe a year or two now. So I'm still training myself of how to use them properly, but practice makes better. Not perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect here. But I want my background to kind of blend out into the paper and be very dreamy and happy. So that's why I added all of those to the edge. And now that I'm almost done with my pencils, I'm going to start with my water. Now you might see a little bowl there on the side of water. I rarely ever do this. So I don't know what I was thinking that day. But I ended up just putting a little bit of water in that bowl and just simply wiping my brush over the watercolor areas. Now this is kind of where the losing the control kind of comes in. You're going to see my blue and green here blend right where my paintbrush is. It is definitely a bit of a mix there, and that's okay because blue and green do look very nice together. If you want less of that blending, you can go ahead and add the water over each color separately. So for example, right now by the fence, I'm just adding color to the blue area and not adding it on the fence right now because I want it to not mix with the brown, the blue and the brown together. So I'm just going to get a good little wash over here on all of my areas, and then once things are a little more dry and settled into the paper, I can go in with the pieces next to the other wet areas. I'm using a very high quality cardstock for my watercolor paper here. It is from LDRS. It is one of my favorite watercolor papers because it is a white, a very true bright white, not an off-white. Oftentimes watercolor paper can be cream, and I really prefer the white. It makes these pencils just pop. Also, when you are watercoloring, if you have too much water, and you're using a brush like I am, and you have too much water, you can either use a little cloth like I am here, or you can use a paper towel to kind of blot it. But if it gets very wet and you want to add more water before you add another color, you can always take a heat gun, like your embossing gun if you have one, and just dry the card, and that will give it a chance to dry. I just needed to look at this on the side here for whatever reason and just give it a few little touch-ups. But I'm going to go ahead and let that dry. There's what it looks like right away wet. I love how the edges are very dreamy and kind of flowing off to the sides. Now, as that dries, I'm going to have to pick a sentiment, and these sentiments are so cute from this set. So definitely check out the sentiments. I'm going to go with Silly Old Bear, How Do I Love You? Because that is adorable. All right, it's all dry. It probably took about 20-ish minutes. If I was not filming, I would definitely wait longer just so it can be really dry. That water does have somewhere to go. It's either going to go in the air or in the cardstock, and right now it's Minnesota. It is dry. So it did dry kind of quick. But I'm going to use liquid glue to put it onto my card base because watercolor paper can warp a little. This time it didn't warp that much. But I'm going to flip it over and make sure it is nice and stuck down. So it is not moving. There we go. And then I'm going to pop my sentiment up with some foam, I think. Nope, I just used my glue. Just kidding. Be sure to stick around all the way to the end. I'm about to show the other cards I made. I really love the silhouette. That's going to be the first card that you're going to see. And some of the other ones, like the big Pooh Bear with the honey pot. I mean, it's just adorable. And then I had to make an Eeyore card because I relate to Eeyore some days. I wouldn't say that I am totally an Eeyore, but some days I feel like it, and I love his little phrase that he said sometimes, which could be worse. Funny story, maybe not funny, but fun fact, I put that card on my fridge. I have not put a card on my fridge ever, but I did put that one there because it can always be worse, and it's a good reminder for me, who can sometimes be a little bit of an Eeyore. All right, there is my finished Silly Old Bear card. Here is my silhouette one. How fun is that? If you want to see me make the galaxy background, check out my channel. At the end of last month, I put a whole bunch of galaxy videos up. And if you need a link to that, I will put it in the description of this video. Here's a look at the other watercolor. This one went for more of a bleak winter look. That's what I know right now in Minnesota. Pretty sure in 2 days the high is going to be -8. Brr. Here is the could be worse card. It speaks to me. Sometimes it just happens, and that one definitely did. And then here is the big Pooh Bear. Just so cute. I pulled out a embossing folder and embossing folder. From my stash, this one was one of Susan Tierney Coburn's from her collection from 2024, one of those. Be sure to check out all the other Simple Stories things on the Spellbinders website. I will have a link to that in the description. Remember, if you use any of my links, it definitely helps me out. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching. And like I said before, if you have questions, just let me know in the comments and I'd love to help. We'll see you next time. Bye, crafty friend.